Welcome everybody to the second episode of the Clean Finish Wrestling Podcast. Yes, I've managed to do two. Let's see if we can get a third in there. It's been a pretty hectic week so far in the wrestling world. Randy Orton continues to be an absolute menace, and Roman Reigns and CM Punk are having a battle of the ages, quite literally. So without further ado, let's talk about it. So last week's Smackdown came live from Raleigh, Carolina? Rowley? Not a clue. Pretty stacked card. Priest and Truth versus the MFTs. Raxim versus Motor City Machine Guns. Sammy versus Aleister Black. Ilya versus Mello. And the Irresistible Forces versus the Bellas, which, yeah, pretty good card. The show opened up with Drew and Jacob and like some sort of car crash. Like Jacob was all messed up, he's all bloodied up. Yeah, so it looked like Drew, I don't know, drove his car into his car or something. I don't know. He messed him up pretty good. So like pretty intense way to start the show. Then you get your kind of Nick Aldis and Drew McIntyre tension. They've got to have some sort of match, I imagine. Like maybe post Mania. Like it'd be such a perfect person to fight Drew. Those who don't know, Nick obviously was former wrestler. Is it NWA? I think he was. Yeah, so it just makes perfect sense for them to have a thing. Anyway, so they kind of continue having their kind of beef around just what a chaotic person Drew is. Nick threatens to fire Drew. Drew like says he doesn't care. He offered to quit, but he says he was going to quit, but then Nick needed him for the show and everything else. Drew even mentions Nick's kids, which like again just adds more fuel to that fire of this feud. Like I love the personal touches they always kind of put into it. And then you think like, okay, that's it. Drew's done. And then like Jacob Fatu comes out with a vengeance, like this big table spot, like, and they're just kind of the chaos of these two is excellent. Like it's built up for so many months now, and it's just a perfect storm of just two big men just gonna go into war. So like the Mania match, I don't know if there'll be a stipulation. I imagine perhaps there might be, but like I don't know if they need it. Like it's whatever those two do is going to be absolute magic. So yeah, pretty chaotic way to start the show. Following that was the tag team championship match with Priest and Truth for the MFTs. Again, it's supposed to be a positive podcast, but the tag division has been kind of lackluster, hasn't it? Really, like the women's is constantly being put on the marquee, but the men's is just like generally sometimes I forget who the champion is, like, and that's not a good thing. But within that, you still got Solo and the MFTs, having the beef with the Wyatts. Like Solo's still rocking the lantern. There's this whole kind of back and forth with like the Wyatts get it back, and then MFTs get it. Like again, I presume there'll be a Mania match where there's like a big showcase thing, and knowing the Wyatt Six thing, it'd probably be pretty cinematic and weird and creepy and stuff, which would be quite cool. With the tag team champions, it feels like there's a kind of three bird rule, New Day rule type thing. Like I don't know who, because it was it Tamatonga and I can't even remember who came out with the belts, but it seems to change each time, which I find is quite interesting. But I'm a big fan of Talatonga as well. Like looks like quite a, we have a lot of these. We don't have many of the big men anymore that we used to have. We used to have like Big Show and Kane, Undertaker, all those guys, but like that doesn't seem to be a thing anymore. We've got Omos just in AAA doing stuff, but yeah, him and Eric Rowan going at Talatonga, it seems to be, that could be a good thing. The match was fine in itself. The Wyatts come out as expected. But what was quite surprising is the fact that they actually cost the MFTs a title, and like Truth and Priest winning tag team champions, like completely unexpected. Like it was such a great surprise. Like so much so that like Priest sold it so well. His reaction to like Truth Truth winning and then being the champion is just like, really, like we've somehow managed to do this, which I thought was just, yeah, them two going into Mania for some sort of tag team thing would be, I don't know. Again, I don't know where that's going to go. I kind of hope Priest turns on Truth. I think that will get him a lot of heat. But for now, it's like quite a cool ride that those two are kind of going on. Again, going to Mania, that's both deserve it. Like I've said before, I'm a big Damian Priest fan. I think he's very underrated. I don't know why he gets a lot of the stick he does, but he's great. And putting him with Truth is yeah, just excellent. Following that match, we had a kind of Bella Bliss Charlotte kind of interaction. Bliss and Charlotte both eating ice cream, just eating their sorrows away. There's a kind of little thing there again, slowly building on the tag division that's kind of hotting up. And then we had a kind of Sammy seems to be like dwelling on the thing with Cody, and trying his best to kind of big Cody up after all the thing that happened. But then again, you still get a little tease of the heel turn. You don't really know where Sammy's going. Again, that's quite interesting seeing where he's going to Mania. Trick gets in his face again. Like, everyone loves Trick. Once again, putting his lemon pepper steppers in his mouth and just causing issues where it doesn't need to be. I really hope they give him his own kind. Like, he'd be the perfect advocate for like a hot sauce brand, lemon pepper steppers hot sauce or lemon pepper sauce. Oh, it'd be good. So it just writes itself. This is perfect. But he's just crushing it at the minute. I presume him and Sammy at Mania, maybe with Aleister Black. Who knows? But it'd be absolutely huge. Next match for the night was another tag match. Again, we're getting more of the tag division now. We had Fraxian versus Motor City Machine Guns. Good solid match. These two, I think, with a lot of time, they're both exceptional. They could really put on something special. I'd love to see them in like a proper tag feud with, time to actually explore the different tag team wrestling styles. It'd be amazing. But the real kind of story with this is obviously Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin being involved with Johnny Gargano and all that stuff. That's, he's kind of stuck in his depression slump. Seeing him on NXT today, just a kind of sidebar with it, where that angle's kind of working for him. It's exactly what needs to happen. So my hoping for Johnny Gargano is obviously he's this downtrodden, depressed person, but like he slowly starts getting these accidental wins or these accidental things that hype him up, and the fans kind of get really behind him. And then one day, he gets that big win to snap him out of his depression. Like, if it's done properly, it'll be excellent. We'll get such a huge pop out of that. But yeah, it's nice to see the Motor City Machine Guns kind of get involved in that. Like, it's a story that's slowly bubbling, and I think can really grow into something quite big. After the tag match, we had Randy coming out again. Everyone's highly anticipated for what he's going to say after last week, wearing a bloody shirt, the same shirt he had last, when he messed up Cody. Got a steel chair that he used for Cody, all dented and stuff. And he explains that the reason he did what he did is, I quite like this. He didn't go full kind of I'm evil now. It was like the fan stuff. He was kind of just doing it, but it didn't give him satisfaction. Pleasing the fans was fine, but what put a smile, what he wants is his legacy. There's a lot of talk about legacy. It's kind of putting his legacy and title contention and all that stuff, like wanting to win titles, is the thing that means more to him, not the smiles of fans. But he did it in such a way where he didn't turn full, like, I hate the fans. There was none of that, which I think is quite good, because it gives him, post Cody, like a kind of route back in, if that's the way they want to go. And he says he listened to the voices, like all the signs were there. The song plays every week, everyone sings along, even though he doesn't like that apparently. But he just listened to the voices, and that was it. And then he kind of gave his reasonings why. It was kind of short and to the point. What was interesting after is obviously they bumped into Matt Cardona, which again, great to see that he's involved in this. Like, he came back with his big pop, and again, not really doing a lot. So to see him kind of be involved in it, and Orton just rips him to shreds, calls him like a indie stooge, and this guy just plays with dolls, and basically calls him out and says he's completely pointless. Like, I get they bring him in because he's Cody's friend, and they bring him in, and then like Orton lays him out. Like, Orton's properly unhinged, but he's still not quite how he was. He's not fully evil. He's got a difference to it, which again is quite nice to see. Next match is Aleister Black and Sami Zayn. They've kind of been having their small feud kind of building up. But before anything can even happen, Trick Willie comes out, immediately interrupts, huge pop, comes out to kind of watch Sami and get under Sami's skin. Another great match. There's not a lot to say about the match itself. These two, Black and Zayn, but both main event players in my opinion. But what's the real story is Trick kind of getting in Sami's head again, like leading Sami to kind of just be distracted and take a absolutely brutal Black Mass. The Black Mass has got to be one of the best finishes in the whole industry. It's so good, and the way Black delivers it and people react is just absolutely perfect. I want to see Alice Black doing something at Mania. I don't want him just shooting. He's had such a consistent run of beating big top stars, and kind of having this feud with Randy, which kind of didn't go anywhere. But like, he's got such potential there. I don't know if I don't know where he'll be. He might be with Sammy and Trick and all that stuff, but he needs to do something. After that, we get a kind of backstage thing between Ilya and Melo, and Ilya's finally going like, I'm ready to kind of face you. So, I thought perhaps this would be a Mania match, but they did the match on SmackDown, which again, their match was just out of this world. It was an absolutely incredible match, but we'll get to that. But again, these two, I could see them do like a best of 7 quite easily. After that, Jade Cargill comes out. Like, my immediate thought when Jade came out was like, she looks like a character from The Fifth Element, but like it totally suited her style and persona, and she's like fully embracing that hillside. She comes out and says she's bigger than wrestling. Like, it's great that they call on the fact that everyone says she's queen and everything else, but she calls out so she's bigger than wrestling because look at her, she is. She doesn't need to put on 5-star matches. She's just got that presence about her, and it just works so well. And she calls out Rhea. Rhea comes out. Then they kind of had their thing, and then Jade kind of backs away. You think, oh, okay, that's it. And then Meechin and BFAB come out, and you think, okay, she's kind of stuck in rock and a hard place. And again, another great twist. And it was kind of teased last week where BFAB was talking to Jade, but like Meechin and BFAB both join Jade, which I think is exactly the right move. I just think it works so much with both of those characters. They're kind of floating around. Particularly Meechin, I've always really liked. She just kind of seems to have these good feuds, then disappears, but to have this kind of character depth where she's one of like Jade's baddies, which the kind of gimmick she had in AEW, I think will work perfectly for her. And like as well, like Jade, like Rhea's obviously much leaner now. I know she's changed her kind of fitness regime, so she looks a bit different now, but she looks fantastic. But she looks smaller in a way, and like I think it works so well against Jade because when they stand next to each other, Jade obviously looks much stronger, much bigger. I just think it adds that extra depth to their match. So it wouldn't surprise me in if Jade did come out winning champion at Mania. So that whole thing is really kind of vamped up, and I like again they've kind of touched on the personal stuff on Twitter that they had before, so that's looking really good. So after that segment with Jade and Rhea, we get another absolutely great Danhausen promo, with the Miz refusing to lift the Miz's curse. Miz is trying to Danhausen wanted to be kind of the mentor, wanted Miz to be his mentor, sorry, and then Miz is going like, absolutely not, I'm going to help Kit Wilson. Like, Danhausen's only been around for like a month, if that, and like if you look at that initial debut where he just got booed out of the building to what he has now, it just shows like a great character is always going to find a way, and seeing him every week is just fantastic. Just these little segments, all the backstage stuff, it just works so well for him. But yeah, Miz is kind of all in with Kit Wilson at the minute. Who's going to have a thing with Jelly Roll, but like, yeah, got so much from time in the world for Danhausen. And then again after that, we had another promo of like Solo, after their big loss of the MFTs, giving so much grief to the MFTs after it, kind of almost blaming, fully blaming them for the loss of what happened. And what I love to see was a bit, because I'm a big fan of Tamatonga, him telling Solo to just give the lantern back. Like, he's so obsessed with this. He's kind of missing the point of the MFTs kind of doing what they're supposed to be and taking over, but he's so like embroiled in just this lantern and this control thing. And again, he even accuses him of being like Roman Reigns, and we've had this a lot. And I do wonder if they're kind of teasing like a full bloodline reunion thing, because Jay keeps getting accused of being Roman, and then Tama's called Solo said the same thing. I can see Tama turning, whether it would be the rest of the MFTs or not, I don't know. But all the stuff with Shin, like, out of all of them, I think Tama would like thrive, absolutely thrive in a kind of Solo spot. But before like anything could escalate between Solo and Tama or anything, like what Drew and Jacob just shoot past, and they're like carrying on their fight. We thought it was kind of done and dusted at the beginning of the show, but no, they're carrying on that, which becomes a theme throughout the rest of the show. I mentioned Ilya and Melo having their match. Again, this was always going to be an absolutely epic fight between these two. They're both main event players, particularly Ilya. Ilya I've been watching since NXT UK, and he's so damn good. They have so many cool spots in this. Like, Melo did this like jumping 360 over the top rope and just like slam so hard into the table, which is absolutely brutal. they had that really cool kind of near fall at the end with like the first Melo did the first 48, and then Ilya jammed straight in with the H bomb. Like it again, these two I could watch them fight over and over and over again. And Melo got the big win, which I was kind of surprised at. And again, Melo deserves it. I'm so intrigued as to what's going to go into Mania. I want to see Melo versus Ilya, but is that going to happen? Like, is there going to be some? I kind of don't want a big kind of open gauntlet type thing. I'd like something. They both deserve like a good spot at Mania. So hopefully we'll, I don't know, get something, maybe a stipulation type thing. I'm not sure. Get another backstage segment with Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. Again, cannot take that man serious with that name, but it's doing wonders for him. So fair play to the guy. But yeah, Jelly Roll trying to get Orton to the right. He has a word with Orton, trying to get him to the right thing. Goes like, look, all that stuff happened. I believe you made a mistake. Blah blah blah. You can kind of go out there and you can make it right whenever you want to. And Orton seems to take that on the chest and goes, yeah, maybe you're right. Again, that leads to something that we can discuss after. But yeah, it's nice to see that these things are building throughout the show. Similarly with Drew and Jacob, it's not just a one and done. It's this slow kind of build throughout an escalation throughout the show. So the reason Jelly Roll is there is because of the thing that's happened with Kit Wilson and Miz. Kit calls out Jelly. I have to call him Jelly. It's just ridiculous. So Kit calls out Jelly, and like Jelly Roll comes out, and he's like, coming out hot. He comes out and he, wants to have that fight. He doesn't want to muck around. But instead, we get this beautiful, beautiful poetry slam by Kit Wilson, and it's like something out of like the early 2000s, which I quite like. I love that kind of humor as well. Like if it's done well, which this was, it can go down so well. Yeah, it was kind of fat shaming him. Even kind of slipped in a little dick joke there, like it was just perfect, and the crowd ate up as well. And then what was great is often you've seen these things back and forth can kind of really like fall over, or they seem a bit cringe. Like this worked. Kit Wilson worked really well. Jelly Roll was just as good when he came back, and he basically made a bunch of like I shagged your mum jokes, which is like really messed up Kit. And then Kit and Jelly Roll kind of going after each other and like having that physical confrontation again, presumably leading to some sort of Mania thing. But like again, it works so well. I think it's so easily these things cannot, and I think this works really well. So yeah, respect to Jelly Roll, and I'm a big fan of Kit Wilson kind of getting that kind of highlight. We had a bit of a tension between Kiana and Julia, which I found quite interesting. And then like Chelsea coming out and being bullied again and kind of being fobbed off. But like there's that hotting up of the women's division, which is just always great to see. And particularly with Julia, I think Kiana's done great for her, but both individually are great. They just, particularly Kiana, who's just gotten that big push recently at the Chamber, but they both, I think, need something extra there to kind of get them over a bit more. Particularly Julia again, who was so well received in NXT, and just this is not transferred over as well as it should. So the main event match of the night was Irresistible Forces versus the Bellas, which I have my opinions of the Bellas. Again, I mentioned that before. They're not for me. I see a lot more opportunity for other female wrestlers in there, but I get what the Bellas bring to it. So business wise, it makes sense. Charlexa come out quite quickly in the match as well. Match didn't last very long. It was kind of, I think I'm finding because of a lot of the women's matches, the tag women's matches, sorry, there's going to be some multi-person match at Mania. It's going to happen. There's a lot of contenders, so these matches are short and sweet to build on that, which again makes sense. But the match itself, Bellas were fine in the match. Irresistible Forces kind of everyone played their part in it, and then again Charlotte and Alexa they're doing great things as well. But what's nice is that it could go anyway. You've got Bailey and Lyra. You've got the Cool. You've got so many people that could like add to this match, and any one of them could win. I think it's quite good that it's unpredictable. So at the end of the night, we get Randy Orton coming out again after his kind of conversation with Jelly Roll. The thing happened with Matt Cardona. He comes out, to offer an apology. He's visibly different. He's then when he first came out, he wasn't high fiving. He said, all the smiles meant nothing. But he's coming out, he's high fiving kids, taking selfies, doing all that stuff. It's a normal thing again, which again is great. It's like he's had this moment of he's not fully delved into the I'm evil. It's kind of okay. I did a thing. my bad, I'm sorry, I'll come out and I can apologize, you know. And then he invites Matt Cardona out, and it kind of, you know, offers an apology initially, but as predicted, turns on him pretty quickly and gives him an absolutely monster beatdown. Like, he properly annihilates Matt again, which is what you want to see. You don't want to just see a kind of half-assed thing. You want to see a proper beatdown. Like, looks like he's, you know, puts Cardona's arm in a chair, tries to break it, maybe to break it. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but like, it's absolutely brutal. What does make me laugh though, and again, I know it's part of the show, but it's like, he's just lying there with his arm in the chair, and like, everyone's trying to stop Orton. It's like, why is no one going and removing the chair? Like, just take the chair away, and then it'll cause no problem. Anyway, but like, so that all chaos is gone. Orton finally gets walked away. You think the show's going to end, and then, you know, you get Bam, you get Drew and Jacob kind of going at it in SmackDown. Like, they're on some platform outside, like this huge kind of scaffold building. I don't know what it is. Like, they're going at it again, and then Nick and all the crew are just shouting at them. No one's actually going over there. They were just kind of shouting at them, which I just found hilarious. But like, yeah, they're kind of going at it, and you, again, as predicted, they both take a big fall and like kind of land, and then the show goes off the air. And I just thought, again, showing the chaos of the two, I would be surprised if there wasn't some sort of street fight at Mania for those guys. They both deserve it, and it's just, yeah, the way it's going, just a normal match I don't think will cut it. So yeah, that was SmackDown. I think all in all, good show. Lots of title matches. You know, they're finding a lot of title changes as well at this time of year, so close to Mania, which I find quite interesting. So yeah, I'm excited for a lot of the SmackDown stories and where they're heading. So Monday Night Raw was again another pretty stacked show. The Usos versus Division, Javon versus Grayson, Kabuki Warriors versus Bailey and Ira, and then Penta versus Dom. Which, that for the IC title, that was a really good match. We'll get into those. Show opens pretty strong. Brock Lesnar comes out. Heyman cuts a promo on Oba, kind of downplaying Oba's abilities, but he did it in such a way that bigged him up at the same time. You know, he compared a list of people that said that they could beat Brock and take him down, like people like John Cena, Bobby Lashley, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, all these guys, saying, you know, they were going to take down Brock, but they weren't able to. But like, to me, that really solidified that when Oba does win, you know, he's on par, if not better, than all of these legends and all these people. And I just think it was so superbly done by Heyman. He's obviously Heyman. He's the best at this sort of thing. It's so well done in how he did it, in terms of just like kind of really bigging up my man Oba, who then, you know, they were saying like he was, it was unfair. He kind of took Brock by surprise. Brock was ready for him. But what does Oba do? He comes out and absolutely gives him like an incredible clothesline. And like, no matter how I feel about Brock Lesnar in outside of the wrestling world, he takes a kind of clothesline to the outside of the ring, so like the best I've ever seen. He like launches himself out of the ring. He's just like amazing. And then Oba's just standing there like the ruler that he is. Like, if they make Oba lose at Mania, it makes no sense. He's done all this work to become this kind of top guy already. Like, give him the win. Like, it makes perfect sense. After that, we've got the Usos versus Division. Again, match was fine. Like, again, the story isn't the match itself. It's LA Knight coming out to help. Like, you know, the guys all have quite good chemistry with each other, but there was nothing amazing. But LA Knight coming out to help the Usos is like, you know, that's the kind of story there. LA Knight slipped the brass knuckles to Jay. Like, he was just like, you know what, screw this. As soon as he put them on, took the DQ loss, using it on Theory. Like, and then he hit Logan Paul as well. Like, he's kind of, what I like about Jay at the minute is he's obviously in the tag team is a great place for him, but he's still kind of holding on to that main event Jay Uso's side where he can be his own person and just kind of goes off. So I'm intrigued as to where that's all going. Like, is there going to be a kind of a 6-man tag at Mania? You know, where's LA Knight going to fit in? Is he going to join the Usos? Even though, like, it's quite an interesting dynamic, all of this. So Division would have to get third, I guess. Like, I'm not quite sure where it's going, but it's a quite an interesting dynamic with the Usos and LA Knight at the minute. We've got a promo from the El Grande Americano, the not Ludwig Kaiser one, and not bait and not done. I just loved. I felt so, particularly with this interview, it's one of those ones where they're kind of up in the stands. It's just so obvious who they are as people. Like, the masks do nothing to hide it, but it's so much fun, and I absolutely love it. And they're killing it, and wherever they're wrestling at the minute, they're doing so well in kind of getting themselves over. Then had a Becky Lynch promo, just talking about her impact on the wrestling division. Um, she like to the point where, and then like venting her frustration with AJ, like AJ getting under her skin is the best, but like saying that even her own kid is like the biggest AJ fan, which is just yeah, just very very funny. And then kind of goading AJ. AJ comes out, Becky runs away, does the whole coward heel thing. Again, AJ bites back at her just as much, saying how she's her favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. Even her kid likes it, and it's just again just such a good touch. Again, I don't know where it's going to go. I'd love to see AJ hold on to the title. I don't think Becky needs it anymore. It'd be good to see Becky move on to something else. Whereas there's a lot more matches that AJ could have. Like she had one with Bailey last week, which I thought was amazing. To see AJ goes against Roxanne or Rhea and all these other guys, like I think it makes more sense for her to keep on to the title. The second match of the night was Javon versus Grayson. There's obviously the thing with Javon and Kofi. Kofi seeming like trying to recruit him, treat him like his young boy, all this stuff. Javon's just like, you know what, I want to be my own person. He's so good. He feels like he's so good. No one can keep up with him. Like he's so fast. There's a spot he did where he was just so fast, and it was a suicide dive, I think. He did it so quick, he almost broke his damn neck. Like just like the dude is so quick, and like he's just a human highlight reel. I like in the truest sense of the form. Like a jump he does, he can just jump so high. Like boy is bouncy, and they just like super hurricane off top rope. That was like insane. Again, he needs something big like US title or something like that, or IC title, or I don't know, just something for him because he's just out of this world. So whatever, like, be great for him and thing with Kofi. Maybe him and Kofi could be like young versus older type thing. Like they could perform some absolute magic. Got another promo after, like again in the stands. The guys in WWE seems to do that quite a bit at the minute. What I found fascinating was with the OG El Grande, not Chad Gable. He was getting booed like crazy. It really surprised me how it's kind of Ludwig has done such a good job. It's flipped it and Chad the OG El Grande is booed out of the building. I hope they announce the mask versus mask match soon. Probably it must be next week. They're gonna have to announce this, but yeah, I just found that quite interesting how the dynamic has kind of shifted on that. So we had another promo where Adam Pearce, Heyman's trying to say I'm done for the day. Adam Pearce goes, no, you asked for TV time, out you go. So Heyman goes, okay, fine, I'll go and do it, and he's just like wanting to settle up with Rollins when he comes out. He's saying, he might be anything. He's still a man. He wants to deal with the issues him and Rollins have. Like he seems to have taken a different approach where he's just like actually seems to have got some balls. Also we think, and then calls Rollins out. Rollins kind of comes out when this, doesn't bring the goons out with him. He just comes by himself, does the whole mask reveal. Heyman drops this hilarious line saying, he's proud to say that his people are a bunch of snitches, and then basically orders the police, said he got a restraining order on him, and then the police kind of come out, and then kind of take Seth away. And the funniest, like some of the harshest stuff was the lines he was dropping around, Seth Rollins' kids, and like how basically, I don't know if he meant it this way, but like Becky's is going to marry half the locker room. Like it could be seen in such a dodgy way, and he's going to adopt his little daughter and stuff. I just like, but it was the perfect combination of stuff to just piss Rollins off. Darts away from the police and gives punches Heyman in the face, but Heyman's just laughing because he knows he got under Rollins' skin. So we get another tag team match in the women's division: Bailey and Lyra versus Kabuki Warriors. Again, fantastic match. These all four vibe off each other so well. They've kind of competed against each other before. What I love, and Kyrie had a good showing in this, and what I love about her is she's such a natural, lovable baby face, that she's like almost like she forgets she's a heel. Like she starts high fiving fans and stuff. Whereas like you turn to Asuka and she's just furious. Like I don't know if it's part of the thing or she just forgets, but it's very very funny. And again, Bailey, a big win for Bailey and Lyra, kind of leading into the tag thing. What I'd love to see is, and again, I don't know, I've mentioned it before about the multi-person tag match, but I also want to see that Kyrie Asuka thing kind of explode. You know, that seems to be the way it's coming. And then we had a thing with Io kind of trying to save Kyrie because Io's kind of floating at the minute, and then Kyrie, you know, being pulled back to Asuka. Like she has to turn on her at some point. I just think it'll be such a huge pop for her coming out of that. And then, you know, following that, you know, he's kind of in a thing with Raquel at the minute. And these two have there's such a difference in wrestling ability, and not ability as such, but their style, sorry, and their height and everything else. Like they seem to work so well. It's that little and large type thing. So they'll be having a match next week, which I think again will be fantastic. Had Aisha Speed on the show again. I don't know a lot about him. I think I'm too old to kind of know what his impact is, but I know he's got a big impact, so it's great to have him on the show. And then Danhausen curses him, which I'd love to see where that would go. I think that's just like the outrage. It's just Speed did it so well that I'll give it to him. Like he just like took it like it was the worst thing in the world, which is exactly what he should have done. So the final match of the night, the main event match, was Penta versus Dom. I think this was supposed to happen last week, but due to Dom's injury from AAA, I think that's why they had to pull it. Again, before the match can even start, like more chaos in the wrestling world. Stephanie Vaquero attacks Liv and Dom like before the match even starts. Like she messes up both of them, and there's like a brutal brawl in the back. Like I think Liv takes a really hard drop to the floor, and then properly, like you really feel the kind of tension between these guys, and it's really kind of hotted out, which is just fantastic. A lot of people are saying like, you know, Steph's kind of dropped off, but I don't think she has. I think she's kind of just there biding her time, and then the stuff with Liv has really kind of vamped her back up again. So Penta and Dom again put on a great match. Like both are amazing. Like if Dom is not world champion in the next few years, I'll be amazed. But same goes for Penta. I just think the shift in who could be champion is constantly changing, but there's so many contenders. Penta's just, yeah, he's just absolutely zero mira, the best. I can't wait to see more of what he does. Again, he deserves something big at Mania as well. And so I think something will happen. But again, the real story for this, again, it's always these matches with something interwoven, which is always great to see because a lot of characters a lot of superstars get to be involved. But, you know, the real story is kind of Finn versus Judgment Day. So Finn comes out, kind of screws over Dom in a similar fashion that happened at Mania, I think the year before they mentioned. Again, it's just working so well with Finn kind of coming with vengeance. How that would translate, I guess, would be him and Dom, but then JD's there, and that also makes sense. But yeah, those guys are all going to get a great showing at Mania. And what happens Judgment Day after that, God knows, because it seems like there's a Liv and Raquel thing still there. So yeah, we'll see. And the final segment of the night was Punk versus Roman. So they had that kind of, you know, they've been having these little back and forths over the last couple of weeks. Punk kind of lost his rag the week before after being called old, which again seemed like interesting thing to lose your cool over. But then Punk kind of goes off and saying it was the disrespect of saying it. He doesn't feel like he's old, and he embraces the age. It's not that, he's happy that not happy that he's old, but he embraces that kind of side of him. He's not embarrassed about being old. He still goes, doesn't feel his age, very much age is just a number. But then Punk kind of calls out Roman for a similar thing, saying, Roman is older, but whereas Punk doesn't dye his greys, Roman does. Roman feels like he's kind of implying Roman's trying to hide his actual age and his ability, whereas saying he's fake, whereas Punk kind of saying, well, this is me. I embrace it. I embrace all my flaws. I embrace all my characteristics. I'm here and I'm a real person, whereas Roman isn't. He doesn't hide it. What made me laugh is just like, what did he say? He said something like, Roman's kind of covered in oil and jizz and all that. I just thought it was such a unnecessary off the cuff line. Just made me laugh. And he's just calling, referring to himself as this old man, which just immediately made me thought of the song, "This Old Man Covered in Jizz" or whatever. We all know that song, right? But then the other layer of this is the Usos. The Punk kind of goes after the Usos, which adds to it because he's getting under the skin of all of them, but he's just making them seem unhinged. Like that they Roman can't do it without the Usos. Usos are basically still under Roman's thumb and all this stuff. Keep calling them Roman's young boys and all this stuff. Like it's just perfect, and it's really adding in all these layers and different characters into it. I don't want a full bloodline thing again because I think that's just done to death. But it's interesting. You can't ignore the fact that these guys are family and they're all part of each other's lives and stuff. And what I like is is Roman like hasn't changed. Like he comes, Usos come out after kind of Punk kind of calls them out. Jay still wanting to be that main event guy, calling out Punk, saying this is ridiculous, not on. He wanting to fight him. Jimmy's holding him back. Roman comes out, and one thing I do like about Roman is he hasn't changed. He's still very much kind of, even when he lost to Cody, this I'm still in charge. I'm still the tribal chief. Tells the Usos to get out of the ring. Doesn't need their help. Still kind of being that overbearing leader type role. But the flip is Jay is like, no, I'm not having that, and he's then, he's the one then telling Roman to kind of get him and go after him and attack him. And Roman, to the surprise of most, actually listens to him. He like spears him, attacks Punk. Even though Punk was like laughing in his face at the end, like does it, brutal kind of table spot, like out of the Shield. It works so well. And Punk is like, although he took the beating, which was always the plan, he came out laughing and saying, you did exactly what I wanted you to. And it was just such a nice layer to see Jey Uso being that main event guy and telling Roman what to do for once. That dynamic I think is needed, because I think it could become quite stale if Roman's just always the one in charge. So that it's good to see 3-4 weeks out that they're actually getting physical. So to see where they can go from here, it's just like has to go up and up and up. So that was Raw. Again, thought another great show. Ended really well. Started really well. Lots of good stuff happening on the road to WrestleMania. Again, I mentioned it last time, and even CM Punk mentioned Gunther. Like, where is he? It's just so fascinating that he's not around. I do wonder if he's going to have a thing with AJ Styles at Mania. Maybe they'll have like one more match, and AJ can have, it's kind of a swerve, and he has like a quick match. I don't know, but it's very interesting to see where he is and where he's going to be placed. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like he may not even be on Mania. Like, are they going to just shoehorn him in? Like, is that going to work, or is that? I don't know. We'll see. I most likely think it'll be something with AJ in the Hall of Fame and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm hoping whatever happens, he's then ramped back up post Mania. Possibly even to carry on with the retirement legend thing. Brock Lesnar's kind of looking, he's getting up there now, so there's plenty of kind of room for that. So that was SmackDown and Raw this last week. We've got some more shows coming up. We're kind of nearing WrestleMania, getting even closer and closer. And you know what? This is still fun to do. I'm so glad I got to do another episode. Trying to find the time is impossible. I want to try and do these a bit more regular. As I said, I'm going to start reaching other people to kind of jump on as like guests and to talk about different things. Got to expand. That's the plan. But do all the likes and shares and follows and stuff. But continue to watch. Please comment on anything that you want, that you feel like could be improved, or if you just want to talk crap, talk nonsense about wrestling. I'm here, always here for it. And I look forward to bringing more of these. Thanks so much.